Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to Pod Mavericks Presents After Dark. This is our game recap show. You are listening to Josh Bowe and Kirk Henderson here. God.
I want to say this is it, but I feel like the last three podcasts we've been like, okay, this is it. The season's over.
What is dead may never die.
Yeah.
The Dallas Mavericks just fell in another kind of horrifying game. After the Miami Heat failed to score like 95 points in two straight games, they give up a crisp 129 to the Miami Heat. Luka Doncic was beyond exceptional, and it was a pretty fun game. Now, we're live streaming tonight just because I'm still messing around and testing with formats to see what we can do here. So those of you who are listening on the audio cap, we appreciate you downloading and subscribing. For those of you who are listening on the live stream, if you are not already subscribed, it would be very, very helpful to me and to Josh and to Mavs Moneyball and Pod Maverick if you found the subscribe button and if you paid attention to kind of when we're setting these things up, because it's a lot of it helps us a lot in terms of like the things that we can plan for. So God, I don't even know where to begin with this game. What do you think, Josh?
The Mavericks shot 61% and lost. I mean, that's where we have to start, right? Like it's simultaneously both impressive and horrific that the Mavericks keep playing these games, because if you look up their schedule, and you look in the schedule since January 1st, which is kind of when the slide kind of started, was January, the new year, because I think their final win of that 7-game win streak, was January 2nd against Houston. So you basically look at every game after that, and that's when they've kind of been a under 500 team. You can't find a lot of bad offensive performances. Like, the team is consistently scoring 119, 115, 120, 130. And you see, like they won a game with 99 points. They lost a game with 98 points to the Clippers. But maybe you can count like 6 games since January 1st where you could say, okay, they had a bad night. And they've played, I don't know, how many games have they played since January 1st? Like 40, or they're going to play 40 or something like that. Like,
right.
It's this team with like the 17th best defense, like the 15th best defense, would be like a 60-win team. Like, this is one of the best offenses I've ever seen in my life, and the Mavericks are 4 games under 500 with 4 games to go. It's unbelievable, and it happened again tonight. They shoot 61%. They were basically flawless for the majority of the game, but the Heat also, they let the Heat score almost 80 points and a half for a team that can barely score 80, 90 points in a game, let alone a half, and they lost. Like, they outscored the Heat in the second half by a little bit, by 5. But when you're down double digits to a team that can't score because you let them score 70-something points, 76 points, I think, like, that's the game. Like, we can, people want to talk about the fourth quarter and like the weird way the offense is kind of a little bit weird in the fourth quarter. And like, there's some merit to that. But like, if the Mavericks just played normal defense, like, they would be up by like 15 in the fourth quarter, and it wouldn't matter if they had like kind of a bummer final quarter. You know what I mean? Like, I keep getting people responding to me that are like, man, I can't I can't believe Dwight Powell and Reggie Bullock only combined for 4 points. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. but the team shot 61%. How much better do you want them to play offensively? Like, and I understand they have to win these games, but to me, I just can't get worked up about that because I just keep circling back to this might be the most embarrassing defense I've seen from an NBA team trying to win games since I've been watching basketball and like cognizant of it. It's
and
crazy.
make no mistake, they are trying to win games.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, in my opinion, Luka's
last gasp.
This was one of the finest performances from him in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Going back to before All-Star break, I know he got hurt against the Pelicans. I know he's been banged up in multiple ways. The thigh injury where we don't even know where that happened. But this was a game where I thought, he shot the ball well inside the arc, shot the ball pretty well outside the arc, hit most of his free throws, tried to play good defense. There were a couple of times where he got beat in transition. And I think if we were to offer up like a true critique of what Luka can improve coming into next season, it's his transition awareness. Like this wasn't a lazy game or anything from him. It's just there were a couple of times where he's getting like Jimmy Butler's cherry picking and Luka got caught. Yeah. And there's just things like that he can clean up that are pretty low hanging fruit. But I thought tonight he really played like a truly fantastic game. His shot chart is kind of ridiculous. Let me see if I can.
The team shot chart is ridiculous.
The team shot chart is pretty preposterous. It's like they shot this well. Let me see if is that the window. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Oh yeah, here it is. So this is the Luka Don. No, that's the whole team shot chart. I didn't download.
Can you switch it to the zone? Or did you download? Oh, you downloaded it.
I downloaded it because it pulled up better. Let me see if I can just go get Luka. Just Luka. Is it going to do that? No, it's not going to do it for me. Whatever. But it was what? So the shot chart by zone. You can probably do this too if you remember how I switched it. If you want to present.
Yeah. I got it. If you want to keep talking.
Sure. So it's like watching Luka from inside the arc was really like watching some like artistry. The kind of shots he was making were really the kind of shots we were seeing during the first 2 months of the year where he's scoring 30 plus points a game and the Mavericks needed it. Okay. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, here we go. That's Luka's shot chart.
And the red outside is not really fair.
Right.
It's 2 of 6, right?
Well, it's 2 of 6 above the break threes.
Fine.
So,
right. Yeah. If he hits one more or he takes one less, then it's green.
Yeah. So that's Luka, and then the team. Like
my goodness. I mean, you don't lose Tim Hardaway incandescent games. That's what Matthew Phillips kept saying that in our in-game Slack, where he's just like, you cannot lose Tim. Tim was 6 of 10 from 3. He had 31 points. Like this was a game the Mavericks had no business losing, and yet they were not ever really in it.
No, I don't think it was a one possession game, despite the fact that I kept thinking it was going to be. I don't think they had it as a one possession game. After like the midway point of like whenever the Heat took that like 28-24 lead, I think they had a double, a 2 possession lead or greater the rest of the game. So it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's not just that they lost shooting 61%. Like they never even really had a chance to win. Like it never felt like they did. It's just
right.
It's crazy. Like Tim made a 3 that I think got it to 6, and then the Mavericks got to stop. And this is late in the fourth quarter, and they ran a really nice play. Like I almost want to clip it and share it. They ran a really nice play coming back, and Tim got a wide open 3, and he missed it. And it's like, it's crazy how that is just like, oh well, there's the game, and it's because you weren't perfect offensively for 48 minutes. You lost. Like it's just, I've never seen an NBA team try to win games that just. They don't have anything else to fall back on. Like this is the ultimate example. Like they can't play. You can't play better offense. Like I don't care that Christian Wood didn't play more. He scored. He scored well. He shot well. He only played 3. Like I don't care that he didn't play more because they should have won this game with minimal. Like Wood is not going to change the game defensively. I don't think. But like anyone like that's arguing like, oh, why didn't Powell only scored 2 and Bullock scored 2, and it's like guys like. We're reaching the limits of NBA offense with this Mavericks team right now. The problem is that these guys can't do anything else. And that goes for the guys that aren't playing or not playing more that you want. Like, I mean, yeah, Christian would play more. Like JaVale McGee play more. I mean, at this point, I can't argue against it because it's like, why not? At this point, like, I don't really have a leg to stand on there, but like to think that that's going to make things different.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy and streamlined so I can spend more time on the rest of my business. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Well, and it comes back to the defense. And so Kid's gone back to the one big lineup just to try something. And the Mavericks have been getting destroyed by every big that they play against. Cody Zeller, as our man Panda Hank pointed out, I flashed it on the bottom of the screen, had 20 points and 69% shooting and 8 boards. And Cody Zeller was not on an NBA team a month ago. So it's really confusing as to how the Mavericks thought that some of the solutions that they garnered, normally in the form of like JaVale McGee and relying once again on Maxi Kleber, it just is silly. Like, we beat this dead horse every game. And
I don't know what else to talk about.
Yeah, I don't either. And that's where it's like I was exchanging messages with my friend Tyler Adams tonight, and I just said, I'm looking forward to talking about the draft. I don't know shit about the draft because I've not had to pay attention.
I'm tired.
The Mavericks they didn't have a pick. And, unless if they continue down this path, there's lots of people in the chat basically saying, hey, we got a Facebook commenter. My man Leo says we need to fire Jason Kidd. Leo, I don't know if they will actually do it because right now them losing games is arguably the best thing for the team. Now, here's the thing. We know they're not going to tank, but are they going to beat Atlanta tomorrow? They're hopping on a plane right now and going to play Atlanta. Luka Doncic played 44.5 minutes.
Yeah. We might see, if they lose tomorrow, we might finally see like a Luka sitting. Like, I wonder if they lose tomorrow, if that's the white flag, but because they basically have to, I think it would almost be over. But dude, you talk about Cody Zeller. Kevin Love scored 18 points in 19 minutes on 9 shots. He had 24 points in the 4 games combined. And he had his previous high with the Heat was 13. And he shot 38% from the floor, 28% from 3 in the month of March.
Yep.
And dude, he looked like, for stretches, he looked like Minnesota Kevin Love. It was like, and this isn't like a case of like, oh, just some random guy got hot. Like, he was just making, he's getting wide open spot up threes and he's getting like post ups against Hardaway and Bullock. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, it's unbelievable. I just don't know what else to say. The Mavericks had 1 offensive rebound in this game, Kirk. 1. 1.
That's hard to do because the ball just bounces to you sometimes.
It is. This team is just, it's remarkable. Like, they should be done. Like, they are done. Like, they're done. But like, if they had like a 3 or 4 game stretch at any point earlier this season where they were like shooting like 30% from 3, like they would have like 4 more losses right now. Like, it's just, and that's like normal. Teams go.
I keep coming back, and I just guess I didn't understand this, which is stupid. I keep coming back to the fact that they needed overtime to beat the Spurs and a game-winning shot to beat the Lakers in back-to-back games. Had they not won those games, and then they also
the season's over.
The season was over then at that point. Because at that point, including it broke up 5. Let's see here. It broke up 3 losses. Yeah, it broke up like a 4-game losing streak and a 3-game losing streak. Like it was that dark. And I'm not like the part of why I'm wondering if like at this point the Mavericks are institutionally discussing tanking was that play at the end where they just didn't foul.
Yeah, that was something.
Like that's a Jason Kidd masterclass in one hand in my pocket and the other one, flipping a peace sign for the season. Like
yeah. I
don't know.
I haven't seen if he's done post game yet, but I'm assuming his answer, if someone asks that question, his answer is going to be, well, the Heat are like shooting 90% from the free throw line this game, so the Heat didn't want to foul them or something. So I'm assuming that's going to be his answer, but it's not great because the game was. I mean, the game was over. Like they're just, even though the Heat missed a shot, you're down 6 with 14 seconds left. Like there's.
Well, so this is a fun point. This is why I think we may have to do more of these live, even though it makes things a little difficult for us at times. Nate in the chat said, kids lineups make me wonder about a secret tank in December. Here's the thing. Jason Kidd is a stubborn...
this is who he is.
This is who he is. He did this stuff in Milwaukee. I heard a story, and I'm trying to get him to come on, but I know a former Bucks employee that has told me some stories that will just blow everyone's minds. And maybe I'll get him to come on after the Mavericks finally part with them. I don't know if they're going to part with him this year or not, but the kind of stuff going on with Jason Kidd is not new. It's everyone deciding like, this is like
we saw it last year too. And it fell into place when they traded Porzingis. Like, they happened to get on a hot streak when they kind of clicked into that Dinwiddie three-guard kind of lineup, offensive juggernaut switching defense thing. Like it was kind of the same deal there. Like, remember, I mean, the Mavericks started the season last year really weird. Like they won like 70% of their games after January 1st.
Yeah, they lost like 6 times. Yeah. It was crazy. And you and I had a little bit of a discussion going back to, you're like, all right, I really think the Mavericks are going to pull this out. I think they're going to go 4-1 or 3-2. And I'm like, dude, they won 5 times in March.
I know, you're right.
They're not. And so, but and again,
but you watch this game, Kirk, and you're like, can you kind of see why I still think that though? Because you're just like,
100%. Because it's like 2 things go differently. And this whole season might be different. They played with analytical fire in the sense of they and I still don't know if they realized this. In fact, I'm pretty sure they didn't, because from what I understand about the coaching staff, they're one of the lead assistants doesn't necessarily understand how plus minus worked to start the year. And so they win, they get to the Western Conference Finals. We're rehashing old stuff by hitting threes, and the threes basically break every other margin in terms of, even though you're losing rebounding, you're making it work with your defensive end. And so they then bring back a team that is so like everyone's the same, except for they lost Brunson and added McGee. And so now that we're 78 games into the season, I can't fathom how the fuck we talked ourselves into this. It was stupid on its face. Yeah. We understand that, right? Like I'm not against like Kyrie at all. Kyrie's been mostly fine. I've really enjoyed watching him play because he's been different, but he didn't bring anything particularly special to help them win other than maybe pushing it more. But the way the Mavericks entered the season was, all right, we're gonna do this again. We're just gonna do this again and see if it works, instead of acknowledging that maybe playing Dorian and playing Reggie Bullock 700 minutes in the playoffs might have adverse effects into the next year.
Maybe you should go get another wing. Anything.
It's just this is crazy.
Yeah, but it's like, it'd be one thing if they were losing these games by 15 points, but they're not. Like, Kirk, when was the last time this team has like one blowout in the last like 2.5 months? Like, or not.
That's their 52nd clutch time game too.
Yeah, like that's why it's like we're both talking on 2 different sides of the coin. Like, we're both kind of right. Like, you're right. Like, what has this team shown us that they're going to all of a sudden pull off a winning stretch? But then on my end of it, I'm like, but they're not getting crushed. And we know that, some of the smart people that we know that talk about basketball have told us that, clutch time isn't necessarily always like 100% like a skill. Obviously there's skills and there's qualities that go into it, but there's a lot of variance when you get into a clutch situation.
Yep.
That you can just fall ass backwards into a win without doing the right things, because it's basketball and the ball bounces weird and you're in a 1.1 possession game and you get a win that you shouldn't have gotten. And that hasn't been happening. Like they just keep losing. And it's crazy. Like I said, it'd be one thing if, they've lost, 6 of their last 7 now. It'd be one thing if like 4 or 5 of those losses they lost by 20 or 15 or 18.
Yep.
Like if the average margin of defeat was like 15. It's not. It's like 5. So I'm just like they're not getting run off the floor, but it's only because they're putting up some of the most historic offensive numbers we've ever seen. And it's hard to reconcile those two things together. But it's what's clear is that they're a bad team, and there's no debating that anymore. They're a bad team.
Well, so as we're broadcasting live, the Pelicans are holding off the Clippers, 7-point margin. It's just we're at standings watch, like a full-on standings watch. Now the Mavericks are now, because they lost that game tonight, they're basically the Thunder. They're only 1 game back from the Thunder, but because the Thunder own the tiebreaker, they're effectively 2 games back from the Thunder. Right. They're a half game back from the Jazz. There are a ton of basketball games tomorrow. 13 games, I think, is what it's going to look like tomorrow. So by tomorrow night, after the Mavericks play, and they play the early game on Sunday, one of them. No, there's like games all day. Goodness. And then no games Monday. We should have a much better feel by tomorrow evening about what is really possible. If does Utah play tomorrow? That there's just a real. If the Mavericks were to commit to the tank, which they're not gonna, but if the Mavericks were to lose out and say they were to go, so they have 4 games left. If they were to go 2-2, I think there's a pretty good chance of the Mavericks being 10th in lottery odds. I'm not saying they're keeping their pick because the Mavericks have never friggin' done anything other than fall in the lottery. But there's something there that we can, then talk about for 3 weeks as we all figure out various ways and various deities to pray to hope that the Mavericks keep the pick. Jeremy says, why are we talking about standings? Because I want to talk about the fact that they might keep their pick. That's all we really have to look forward to, because
and I mean, they could still the Thunder's final 4 games are what? Suns, Warriors. They're playing the Warriors on the road, and then Memphis, and I can't remember the other game. I think Utah. Mm-hmm. So that's like that's Phoenix. Those Phoenix and Golden State games are probably losses because those teams are still trying to win. So like at best they go 2-2. Or maybe, I assume they go 2-2 in those final games. So they'd be at 40 wins and the Mavericks are at 37. So the Mavericks have to win 3 out of 4. So like, obviously they'd have to win all 4, right? I guess if the Thunder go 2-2, the Mavericks have to win out. I don't know. It's the fact that it's not mathematically over yet. And I know it's over for everyone in their hearts and minds. And I understand that, but until it's mathematically over, we have to acknowledge that it's still possible, because again, this team is so dumb. Dumbest team I've ever watched. I believe they would do them falling ass backwards into the 10th seed and getting into the play-in. I don't know how that could shock anyone that's watched this team from game 1. But true. Also it wouldn't shock me if they lost every single game to close the season. So I don't know.
Oh, it's certainly something
to talk about with this team.
Yeah, and that's where it's just,
other than they're dumb. They're a dumb team.
Yeah, I mean, I love, we've seen so somebody said to me today that like Christian Wood, it's not fair. He's not getting jerked around on his minutes. The man was a -16 in 12 minutes. He might be the worst defensive player I've ever seen in my life. That's why he doesn't play.
Why do you think the Heat had come on, guys. Why do you think he contributed to that? So
yeah. He's one of the worst defensive players I have ever seen. He's bad on closeouts, bad on rotations. The only thing he can do is cheat for weak side blocks. That's all. That's the only thing he can do on defense. Jaden Hardy, feel bad for him. In 6 minutes, he had 3 turnovers.
Yeah, that was after the 3rd turnover. It was instant, kid.
Yeah,
that was a purposeful, okay, you're done.
I don't blame Kid for that one.
No,
if a guy's in quicksand like that, maybe you give him a little burn later, but 3 turnovers in 6 minutes is pretty indefensible.
No. And again, Hardy is there for offense. He's so They didn't need offense. So
shout out to NBA.com has Reggie Bullock listed as a power forward in the starting lineup. If that doesn't say what and again, he was warmed over ass tonight too.
Yep.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a real shame. Okay. I think we're probably about ready to wrap this one up here. Do you got anything else?
Mavericks outscored the Heat in the paint.
Ooh,
and they still
spicy.
lost.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so what's going to happen here, guys? For those of you who want to come back and do the live show and participate in our live show, as this is also a live show, be sure to click into the other, the other YouTube channel, that I've set up in the Mavs Moneyball channel. Subscribe. Leave comments, those sorts of things really help us. We've built up, we got 500 plus subscribers in about 4 days, which is way more than I would have ever hoped for. I'm really appreciative of the people who are reaching out and giving support and that sort of thing. Obviously this stuff still pops up in your audio feed, but this is something we're working hard on top of those things. So I'll pop back in here. It's 9:35 Central Standard Time. I have it listed as 10:15 start time, but if I can get in there earlier, I'm going to get in there earlier. Nick says, "Oh, this isn't the live show. It's not the one where you guys can call in. I definitely want you guys to call in and do that sort of thing. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. Josh and I are getting very minimal assistance. We're sort of reading and listening to people who are in our lives, so we're figuring out what to do with that. I will say we picked a hell of a time to start a YouTube channel, but to be fair, we did not actually get our RSS feed from SB Nation until last week. We knew we were going to do this. This is more a matter of when. So,
yep.
All right. Jeremy says, I will commit live Mav seppuku on the live show. Okay. Well, that might be must see television. What do you got here? What are we seeing?
You want to
Josh green screen?
Yeah, you want to look up at these last 5 games? He scored, what is this? 8, 10. He scored 13 points combined in his last 5 games.
Poor guy.
I know we're done. We were kind of done wrapping it up.
No, it's fine.
I just realized
the Josh Green of it all is so difficult for me because I don't like kicking him. There's just a it's that pick no longer looks quite so bad.
No, it does. It
still does. Sorry, guys. It still does.
I'm never getting over that. I'm never getting over that. Yeah. Dude,
all right,
nothing.
So I will
1 rebound and 3 fouls in a turnover.
He just runs around like a chicken with his head cut off some
Lord.
games. Okay, so we're gonna be back here shortly. Thanks so much for hanging out. We appreciate all your support, and we will talk with you guys soon. Go Mavs! I'm Ron Burgundy.